Yo, sometimes even the superstars struggle. It's not easy, man, especially in big games. What's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. You know the face, you know the name. Aaron here, back again. Shout out to everybody always tuning in, showing love, showing respect. As always, shout out to every single one of you. Champions League action once again last night. Dortmund played against Atletico Madrid, lost 2-1 away, but that tie is still very much open. Very good second half from the Borussen. And of course, excuse me. Whoa. Wait. The game that I'm going to talk about is the Barcelona PSG game. Barcelona, of course, went to the Parc des Princes and won 3-2. So they're taking the advantage back to Barcelona, and PSG has some work to do, man. PSG has some work to do, but there's one specific player that I want to talk about. And that is Kylian Mbappe. Kiki de Bondy, Mr. Dictator of Paris, as people like to call him over there. Kylian, man, he struggled yesterday. Struggled massively against Barcelona. And as much as I respect and as much as I know the qualities he has, he can turn it on at any given moment. And I think the World Cup final is a perfect indication of that. As much as I know he can turn it on at any given moment, I did say a lot of times, and I think a lot of people have as well, have said that he struggles to play against teams that sit in a low block and just defend. Well, no, not necessarily in a low block, but teams that are set up very well defensively. His main attribute is obviously his pace. That's his main attribute. And he's got this ability with his pace to eliminate players and to eliminate opponents ahead of him and then get past them and whatnot. But essentially, Mbappe functions with a lot of space ahead of him. And when he doesn't have that space, he struggles. Now, yesterday we saw a couple of examples of that. And it brings me back to, I think it must have been the international break in October, November, where France played a game and Mbappe tried this funny thing of playing in the 10 and being the creator. That was the funniest thing ever, because he knows, his teammates know, and even Deschamps knows that's not a role for him. It's not made for him. He can't do that, and he probably won't ever be able to do that. Do you know what I mean? And maybe he just has to accept that. Do you see what I mean? But you've got to give credit to Barcelona, because they've done really, really well to keep him quiet yesterday. That back four of Cubarsí, the young defender from La Masia, played really well. Who played left back? I can't remember. I think it was Sergi Roberto. And then obviously you had Araujo with Cubarsí as a centre-back partnership. And you had Jules Koundé as the right-back. I think they did a really good job on him. Credit to Jules Koundé, because it's probably because of his relationship with Mbappe in the national team that he kind of knew how to deal with him, and he communicated very well with Araujo, and they managed to lock him up properly, and that was really good. And like I said, Mbappe tried his best to get past him, but like I said, in tight spaces, I don't think this is made for him. Sometimes he has that odd moment where in tight spaces he can get away from his defenders with a little trick and a flick and this and that, or a change of pace like we saw against Real Sociedad, where the change of pace allowed him to create that little bit of space and then shoot and score the first goal. But when he's got two people on him and two people doubling up on him, he struggles. And I think that's one part of his game that he has to elevate. That's one part of his game he has to work on, because once you get to Real Madrid, yes, you'll have loads of space to run into, but you will have games where, whether it's in La Liga, Copa del Rey, or the Champions League, you will have games where it's not going to be that straightforward. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough for you to get into your mood of, let me just, have my pace and go past people. It's not always going to be the case. And at the age of 25, I would have hoped that Mbappe would have added that into his game. But I always say, no matter the player, no matter the quality, there's certain things where it's just too late to learn. And unfortunately, because Mbappe is so heavily reliant on his pace, it's too late, unfortunately, to learn that. Unless he really puts his head down and really works on that when he goes to Real Madrid, depending on the coach he's going to have. Most likely, Carlo Ancelotti. But I think that's something he has to work on, because people are not always going to give him the space he needs or he wants to have for him to run into and cause the damage he needs to cause. So, excuse me, I think that's something that he needs to work on. Definitely something he needs to work on. Look at Ousmane Dembele. Ousmane Dembele has a lot of pace as well, but with him, it's a bit of a difference. It's different with him. It's on and off. Whereas with Mbappe, you know when he's in his pace mood and he can go past you and do the whole step over thing, you know, drag it back and then go again, change of pace, boom, boom, boom. Like, he can do that. Do you know what I mean? So maybe he needs to take a leaf out of his teammates' book. People like Dembele, people like Kang In Lee, who was excellent yesterday. The close control on this guy is immense. Like, I have to say it. I know we talked about Mbappe. I'm talking about Mbappe, but Kang In Lee, what a baller. And this is another thing, like, a lot of people are going to look at Kang In Lee and it's going to go under the radar. His performance is going to go under the radar. But he's such a cultured, good footballer. You see, this is what I mean. Like, when people talk about the best footballer in the world, people always think of goals. No. When you think about the best footballers in the world, you're talking about people that have this skill and this ability to manipulate the ball however they want to. Unfortunately, and this is not me taking anything away from it, unfortunately, Mbappe doesn't have that. Someone like Kang In Lee does have it. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, man, I think Kylian Mbappe was kept very quiet. You know, it's a disappointment for him, but it's credit to the defense of Barcelona. And now Kylian Mbappe is going to have to respond. He's going to have to respond to yesterday's performance, which was poor. Next week, here's another opportunity for you to properly introduce yourself to your potential future rivals, because obviously he scored a hat-trick with PSG against Barcelona at the new camp, but obviously back then it was locked down, fans were not allowed in the stadium, so he hasn't really had the opportunity to introduce himself to his future rivals. So this is the opportunity now. This is up to you to respond. Like, we're giving you the floor, Kylian. It's up to you now. Show us what you got. Let me know in the comments what you think, people. Am I right? Am I wrong? Again, this is not me taking anything away from Mbappe. I think he's an excellent player. But I think that part of his game needs to improve. And that part of his game needs to, he needs to work on that. The close control, dribbling within players, in tight spaces, getting out of tight spaces. Do you know what I mean? Not just run into space, because you're not always going to have that in front of you. So let me know what you think in the comments, people. Let me know if I'm right. Let me know if I'm bugging. Shout out to everybody always tuning in, always showing love and support. And I will see you tonight, actually, because tonight we've got Europa League action. I will be watching and there will be a video coming out, of course. So until then, people, take care. Have a nice day. And I will see you tonight. Kiki the Bondi. Great play.